Good morning, everyone. My name is ABDUSSALAM RUMALEAN, and I am responsible for Malang Book Club today's presentation. In today's presentation, I would like to talk about how to build a reading habit. And the aim of my today's presentation is that I would like to help people who want to start a reading habit. If you guys have any question related to the topic that I'm talking about today, please leave them until the end of my presentation, and I would be happy to answer them. In today's presentation, there are 3 points that I would like to elaborate. I'll begin by explaining about the definition of reading habit, and I'll move to the next point, which is the steps of how to build a reading habit. And the last one is the importance of having a reading habit. I'll start by explaining what reading habit is. So, reading habit simply means you can consistently read a book or more in certain times. It can be weekly or monthly. For instance, like me, I usually finish 2 books in a month. Can be more, but usually I finish 2 books in a month. So that's my reading habit. Moving on the next point, which is the steps of how to build a reading habit. So there are 5 steps that I'm preparing here about how to build a reading habit. So the first one, if you want to start a reading habit, start with the book that is related to the topic which you are interested in. For example, like if you are interested in history, pick a book that is about history. If you are into fantasy, then choose fantasy books, because this could help you to start a reading habit and also maintain it. As people say, read what you like until you like reading. Okay, move to the next step. Step 2, pick a book with the light topic, not the heavy one. So don't pick a book just because a lot of people are talking about that book, just because that book is very, very famous. I mean, like, it is okay to pick a famous book, but you have to make sure that you can fathom, that you can digest the content of that book. But if you pick a book without knowing the content of that book, I'm afraid that the content would be heavy and you ended up not finishing the book. So it's gonna be better if you choose a book with the light topic. I'm gonna give an example. Recently, there is a very, very popular book on internet. It's called *Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind* by Yuval Harari. So a lot of people are talking about this book, and some people think that, oh, this book must be really good because a lot of people are talking about it, and then they buy it, and then they ended up not finishing the book because they don't understand the content, or some of them cannot digest the the explanation and the heavy topic in it. Maybe some people can understand that, but I don't suggest this book as a start for those of you who want to start a reading habit. Okay, we are gonna go with the next step 3. Set reading goals. So what I mean by your reading goal is that you have to have target about how many books do you want to finish in a month or in a week. It doesn't have to be many. 1 book is a good start. Just because your friend can finish 1 book in a week and then 4 books in a month doesn't mean you have to do the same thing. Remember that the point here is that it is not about the amount of book you can finish in a month, but you can, even if that is only 1 book, but you can read that. You can do that reading habit continuously, consistently. So that is the point of my presentation. And then, oh yeah, if you find it difficult for setting the reading habit, the reading goal by yourself, you can use some apps like Goodreads. For example, you can use that app because that app can help you to set a reading goal. You can go on Play Store and download it. And move to the next point. Step 4. Join book clubs. Sometimes you find it boring, complicated, or unsatisfying when you have finished a book and you don't have someone to talk to, someone to discuss with. You have a lot of friends, but not many of them have the same interests or have the same, like they are not into reading, for example, let's say. So you cannot talk about the topic about from the book that you just finished. So joining a book club is the answer for this confusion. If you join a book club, you can find a lot of people who are in the same boat with you. Either they are a beginner in the like reading spectrum, or maybe they are like they've been reading for their whole life. So you can learn from them about books and also reading habits, which is great because you can find a lot of people from different background with variety of interest in reading. Okay, that's about book clubs. And the last point is reduce social media time. Okay, this would be the hardest yet the most helpful one, in my personal opinion. Social media is becoming a must in people's lives these days. So some people can focus on managing their daily life, their daily routines, while diving into social media, diving into internet. But some people can't, and I can't. So because I cannot focus on books if I am into social media too much, or if I spend too much time on social media. That's why I decide to reduce my social media time, which is really helpful because if I spend too much time on social media, I tend to procrastinate a lot of things in real life. One of them is reading. So my suggestion is that reducing your social media time. All right, those are 5 steps of how to build a reading habit. And jump to the next topic. I would like to talk about why is it important to have reading habit. So there are many advantages that you can get from having a reading habit. Of course, you can get plenty of information, like the specific and also reliable information from book because it talk about one thing from the bottom to the top. If you are looking up to that on internet, then that is only the surface. But if you read a book, it talks about everything, literally everything. For example, like if you are looking for education topic on internet, it's only the surface of education topic. But if you are reading a book, then that book can talk about literally everything related to education. So yeah, and you can having a reading habit also can sharpen your memory, and of course you will have a lot of vocabularies in your mind, in your head. And by that being explained, it brings me to the end of my presentation. All right, that brings us to the final section. Now, if I can just summarize the main points again. So in the beginning, I explained about the definition of reading habit, and followed by the explanation, which is about the steps of how to build a reading habit. And the last, I talk about the why is it important to have reading habit, or the advantages of having a reading habit. Okay, so by that being said, I conclude that having a reading habit is one of the most important habit that you have to have. Considering the benefits that you can get from that, so I would definitely recommend everyone to start reading habit. Finally, I would like to end this presentation by thanking you all. If anyone has any question, please ask and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.